flight from a what seems to be a residential area. There was, in fact, a MBBS students hostel that has come into the path of this crashing airline, and the aircraft burst into flames immediately upon impact. Those visuals have also been caught by those who were living in the vicinity of the Ahmedabad airport. Captain Kishore Chinta continues to be with us. Captain, I want to understand from you, in such a short span of time, if both engines are lost, how much can captains do? How much can the pilots and the crew do in such a situation? What can they do?
There's not much the pilots can do other than look for an area where they can crash land the aircraft in the safest possible manner. So in this case, they barely had any height in hand to change the direction of the aircraft anywhere. See, the most prudent thing they could have done was to keep the wings level and glide into a path which is most safe, which would minimize casualties on impact with the ground, rather than having bank on, wherein the risk of the aircraft cartwheeling and more damage and more casualties. So the pilots probably did the most prudent thing, having probably lost power.
Okay, and how does this loss of power really happen? What causes it?
Loss of power could be either due to bird ingestion, the engine compressors stalling and not producing any more thrust. It would be really unlikely for engines of such magnitude and to lose power for any other reason for a technical defect just after takeoff.
Looks like we have 48 people on.
Those engines,
can you hear me? How does it sound?
Pounds of thrust have been
tested. Let me know how my sound is.
And one of the safest
I really put this together in the last minute.
Aviation world. So nothing else could have caused, in my opinion, the loss of power.
So this couldn't have been any kind of technical failure, and the most plausible reason you can think of is bird.
All right, to those of you just joining us, I was in the middle of making a video for this morning,
like I said, we can only
and this story broke. This is shocking. This is the first ever Dreamliner, one of the safest aircraft ever made. You can see it looked like a perfect landing. He was on his way, but then I don't know what happened. This doesn't make any sense to me. Thanks for the sound. Thank you. Commenters, let me know what you know around the world. What are you hearing? I mean, look how he's coming in.
And the way this crash has transpired soon after takeoff, within a minute of takeoff at very low altitude, seems to suggest the pilots lost all control. They couldn't even divert the plane to a safer area, and it crashed immediately within a minute of takeoff. What also is concerning is that they seem to have lost all control. So both engines were.
So London-bound plane carrying 242 people crashed shortly after takeoff in Ahmedabad, Western India.
After that,
Flight A, it's like AI 171, traveling to London Gatwick.
Is Captain Kishore, I'm going to come back to you in just a bit. Harshit is an eyewitness of this crash. Harshit, आप कहाँ थे जब ये crash हुआ और आपने क्या देखा?
हम मेस में ही थे जहाँ पे ये प्लेन टकराया था.
The plane 787 Dreamliner gave a mayday call to air traffic control after taking off, but then gave no response after the mayday call. Signal was lost seconds after takeoff when the plane had reached 625 feet, according to flight radar. Where have we heard that before?
हमारी बिल्डिंग में सिर्फ टकराया था इसलिए धमाके की आवाज आई.
अच्छा, आपके आसपास कितने लोग थे? कोई इंजर्ड है?
इंजर्ड इसमें ऐसा है कि जो बारी के पास खाना खाने बैठे थे उसको थोड़ा वो इंजरी हुई है, बाकी सब ठीक है.
अच्छा, कितने बच्चे हैं वहाँ पे?
खाना खाने के लिए तो यहाँ पे 50-60 लोग हम आए थे, ऊपर और नीचे दोनों. अच्छा. इंजरी सबको नहीं हुई है.
242 people, 217 adults, and 11 children, a source told Reuters. Of them, 169 were Indian nationals, 53 were Britons, Portuguese, and Canadians. The crash occurred just after takeoff. It landed into a city. If you go on to X, you can see a lot of pictures. The plane is like on top of buildings. This makes no sense. I mean, I'm sorry for my discombobulation because I don't understand this.
तो आपको उस बिल्डिंग के बारे में कुछ पता है क्या हुआ वहां पे क्या देखा आपने
वो अतुल्यम 1 2 और 3 है वहां पे वो रेसिडेंट डॉक्टर रहते हैं सभी और ये सब मेडिसिटी के क्वार्टर्स ही है जहाँ पे ये प्लेन हादसा हुआ ना कोई
तो जिस बिल्डिंग में क्रैश हुआ वहां पे रेसिडेंट डॉक्टर रहते हैं
हाँ
और उस बिल्डिंग में कितना इम्पैक्ट हुआ है आपको कुछ जानकारी मिल रही है वहां पे
ना
कोई
ना वो नहीं पता नहीं पता
जी बट आपका जो हॉस्टल है वहां पे सब सेफ है कुछ लोगों को इंजरी हुई है
हाँ हॉस्टल से ये मेस पड़ा 1-2 किलोमीटर दूर है इसलिए सब बच्चे हॉस्टल से मेस तक चल के खाना खाने जाते हैं तभी ये सब हुआ
अच्छा मेस में उस वक्त जो थे वो सेफ हैं लेकिन हॉस्टल में जाके बिल्डिंग में क्रैश हुआ है जहां पे रेसिडेंट डॉक्टर्स रहते हैं दिस इज ऑल्सो एक्सट्रीमली कंसर्निंग हर्षित हमसे बात करने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद लेट्स ऑल्सो लिसन टू सम मोर रिएक्शंस कमिंग इन
लगातार पिछले 2-2.5 घंटे से हमारी टीम उस पर काम कर रही है हमारी सेक्रेटरी है डीजीसी है एआई की टीम है सभी लोग हमारी विकास की टीम सभी लोग एक साथ बैठकर अभी
Sorry about the language. I can't find one locally that's doing it. This is where am I? Remember Mitch, the whistleblower who he's not around anymore. He said he would never fly in a 787. I didn't get it at the time, and I still don't get it because we don't know what happened because this is a safe airplane. But from just looking at the pictures, my God, there's no reason that plane should have crashed. I don't know. I doubt this will get monetized, but you can see on the screen there. It's in a school. It looks like a cafeteria. There's the tail. I'm gonna see what I can find on the phone.
रियल उसका रीजन है सामने आने पे थोड़ा सा सर जहां पे प्लेन गिरा वहां पे कुछ कैजुअल्टी हुई लगता है ऐसा लगता तो है लेकिन थोड़ा सा मुझे लगता है कि
pedo tubes maybe.
डॉक्टर्स हॉस्टल बताया जा रहा है
यहाँ से इंडिया की टीम भी गई है वहाँ पे बाकी सेना दल की टीम भी गई है मुझे लगता है कि सभी जो टीमें हैं सभी लेवल पे वहाँ पे काम शुरू
All right. There is, of course, all hands on deck approach as far as the aftermath of this aircraft crash is concerned. Not only are concerned ministers moving to Ahmedabad, Home Minister Amit Shah is also expected to travel to Ahmedabad. Captain Kishore Chinta continues to...
It was a little nose high, but...
This is, of course, a situation that will possibly need a lot of investigation to figure out...
pedo tube wouldn't explain the loss of communication.
It seems like a crash that...
others knew too.
...seen of this nature and also of this aircraft itself before. So much deep investigation required as far as this case is concerned. Captain Kishore, can you hear me?
This just happened about a half an hour ago, so
Yes, ma'am. So,
I know what you know. So if you find any news, let me know in the comment section. Pop it up there for me.
It's already on site. We'll follow the laid down protocol for fatal accident like this, and I'm sure they will do the due diligence with all possible data that can be collected from the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder and the eyewitness accounts. I'm sure no stone would be left unturned by the AIB inquiry team. I myself have done a fatal accident investigation, and I'm sure the actual cause would come out in due course of time.
Nobody has anything new on it. Just that the crew gave a mayday call and didn't answer back.
Into what exactly will go into the investigation of this crash? The black box is going to become extremely crucial.
Yes, ma'am. The flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder are manufactured to withstand crashes of this magnitude, and they will be recovered in due course of time, and they would be analyzed. All the data from the crash will be analyzed by the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau team. They will piece together every single aspect of the flight path and the possible causes of why and what happened, whether it was loss of power, whether it was a technical defect. Everything will be there in the flight data recorder, and they will be analyzing that, and they will analyze the flight path of the airplane based on the data available, and the mayday call will be recorded on the CVR as well as the ATC transcript.
Okay, so let me see if I can get a better picture here. We'll go back to the Indians in a minute. How's this look? Okay. So let's go over some of these and see what we can see. I'm going to be off the picture for a second. Flight radar, we are following reports of the crash in India. Aircraft is 787-7. 808 UTC. You can see the pictures here. Plane crash into under construction building. 200 people feared dead on board. The city's largest crash. This is also the first 787 hull loss. Can you see that picture? Let me see. Yeah, the tail. Screenshot from the crash video. I'm convinced they have flaps set to 0. Flaps should be set to 5 or 15. What do you think about that picture? Flaps. I would make it bigger, but I have no. Let me see if I can do this. Okay. Somebody's saying that the flaps are set to 0. They look pretty 0 to me. It doesn't look like I can't do both, so I'm gonna go back and scroll over here. Oh, here's an upscale one. Wow. Unless there was a mechanical failure, there are no flaps. Still shouldn't have brought it down though. Yeah. Okay.
That this is definitely one of the worst crashes we have seen, and also given the aircraft involved and the nature of the crash, but also in India's history, this is one of the worst aviation tragedies we've seen.
Well, absolutely. Nobody ever is prepared, for something like this as well. But what really led to this crash? What were the technicalities involved? We will only know once the GCA team, the investigation team reaches there and they find.
I'm sorry, I'm not much help. I'm a spectator along with all of you.
And only then
There's just no information on this at all. If you see something on Twitter,
And what led to this
if you see
tragedy?
something in your
within,
country,
within
please
probably 40 to 50 seconds of the pilot,
let us know, and I'll
reaching out
put
to
it
the
up.
ATC. So obviously, all of these things are going to be there. But as of now, the most important thing is to, in fact, ensure maximum rescue and relief operation.
Boy,
Therefore,
India's
all hands
quick
on
on
deck,
their
whether it is the
graphics, huh?
Gujarat administration, the Gujarat chief minister, the Gujarat home minister, Union home minister, who is also a son of the soil. Ram Mohan Naidu also currently on his way. He's a civil aviation minister, and so is Muralidhar Mahol.
Updates that we're getting, Payal, also tell us that the railways have also
Boy,
decided
I'm
to
calling
operate
this
certain
early, but
special
I don't know if
trains
that's
to
going to be
and
the
from
plane's fault.
Ahmedabad. Anything more you're learning on that?
Special trains are going to be in
Jeez.
place for passengers to
Boeing, man.
fly either from there to Mumbai or to Delhi, because currently the airport at Ahmedabad stands shut as well. A lot of international flights are also likely to be diverted to other locations as well. So preparing for that, Ashwini Vaishnav, the Union Railways Minister, has just put
Should
out
be
a
5 or 10 for takeoff.
essentially speaking about the kind of work that has to be done, and even if medical teams have to be rushed from nearby locations, the railways will also be putting in their maximum efforts as far as this is concerned. And again, like I said, it is all hands on the deck.
Now, if you remember, early on, there was a problem with the batteries on the 787 catching fire, melting things.
So, Payal, you're reporting that MOS
Hang
Civil
on a second, let me
Aviation
load it.
and DGCA chief.
Oh, yeah. Okay. The battery problem. There were fires, they were burning, they were melting interiors. Now, this is reminiscent to me, I'm not saying it is, but of the Jeju crash, when they lost all communications due to the fact that they lost their generators, which is my opinion, which I said in my video, which would also explain maybe why the flaps were up and the gear was down, because it was just taken off. So could be something electrical, could be the batteries. What do you guys have? Let me take a spin around the comment section here. Hot day, no other significant weather. Boy, this doesn't make sense. Oh, I see what you did there, Alexander, with your tequila bottles. Anybody know where Mark Faulkner is tonight? Man, this is sad. Any pilots on the channel? Yeah. The black boxes should be easy to recover because that tailpiece is in one section in that new building. Unless, of course, the power went out, and then you're right, there is no information. The battery problem was solved a few years ago. However, is any problem ever solved, especially with Boeing? Do you remember back in the 90s when they had the hard over with the rudders, and it took them, I think, 3 years and 2 or 3 plane crashes before they finally figured out what was going on? They had no clue what the problem was. They were just guessing at it. It's weird to say. From a personal opinion, I hope this is pilot error because I love that plane. But man, Boeing needs a break. 8,200 hours of flight experience. Yeah, those guys are experienced for sure. There are 3 configurations, 8, 9, 10. I suspect 10. Boy, this sure feels electrical. You're right, Betty. What do you got, Wolfie? Takeoff video shows the aircraft. It was not configured. The flaps were 0. I mean, the aircraft couldn't, and especially in that heat, in that humidity. Now, were the flaps set to 0 accidentally? Was there an electrical problem? Did the batteries burn something? It's kind of a weird time to have an intentional incident on a plane. I mean, it's not the right time to do it, but I got a feeling this guy's not speaking English.
He could have very well handled.
Oh, yes.
If both the engines had also failed, it would have been possible for him to land it. But
Yeah, that plane could land with no engine.
The plane did not have any lift at all for him to maneuver it to some space where he could have landed. One should not make any wild guesses. I'm reasonably certain that how they would be able to recover the black box, the CVR, and moreover, this aircraft can transmit its engine parameters to the ground. And I'm sure Air would have set up these facilities. Similarly, the DFDR, which records all the flight data, they could have also been transmitted to the ground. Because these facilities have been in existence for a very, very long time. And I'm sure Air India would have seen to it that these facilities are available. And in this particular case,
yeah, Greg, that was kind of shady. We don't know for sure what they did.
Of the Air India 320 in Bangalore, the authorities have acted very swiftly and they have acted magnificently, I must say. All the required help has been rendered to the people there on ground, and also people have been moved very fast from the accident area.
But that plane can fly itself. I mean, that you just drop out of the sky like that.
From this accident, and I hope that the authorities will be able to find out what really went wrong. One should not miss any aspect of investigation, particularly in these very tense times. Because, I mean, I'm not trying to, I don't want to be very explicit on this matter, but every angle should be handled, and every possible agency should be involved in investigating this accident.
Sir, in your experience, what follows next as far as the investigation itself is concerned?
See, as far as investigation is concerned, earlier as DGC, I used to conduct the investigation myself. Now they have got an investigation board.
I can't find an American station covering this. Can you? Has anybody seen one on YouTube, Google?
And they should not be excluded from it. The Federal Aviation Authority, they have got excellent facilities. They have investigated many, many accidents in the world. They should be involved. The engine manufacturer, particularly the GE, should be involved. The aircraft manufacturer, Boeing, all of them without hesitation should be part of the accident investigation. Because we must get to the truth of this entire thing.
They will be.
Yes. No, absolutely. This is one of the worst crashes, especially given its nature as well. In aviation history, all around the world, there is much alarm.
Boeing.
And condolences and thoughts are coming in from across the world. Captain Sam Thomas,
hit like, everybody,
is also with us. Captain, your thoughts?
YouTube is killing my channel, killing everybody's channel.
Gone wrong?
I don't know why. After
good evening. I
making recipes.
Really want to hazard a guess as to what has actually happened. And while our thoughts and prayers are with the victims, what I'd like to say that with the limited evidence that we have, and we are seeing
BBC's live, but I can't show them.
The aircraft has lost power on, or rather is not generating lift enough, and that can only happen when both engines are not developing power. And the reason for that can only be found out once we have the DFDR data. And until then, it's in the realms of speculation. And we understand that people are interested in knowing exactly what has happened. To that extent, we can only say that.
Well, he is right. Without loss of thrust, it came down very nicely. I mean, until it crashed.
The reason
very evenly.
For losing power on both engines is extremely rare. If you recollect, there was an incident on the Hudson, where an A320 lost both its engines to bird hit, and a lot of people are drawing that comparisons. This airplane, the 787, is a much bigger airplane. And a few birds will not be able to cause problems to a single engine, or leave alone both engine catastrophic failure. So at the moment, we have very, very sketchy details. And the Aircraft Accident Investigation Board would be in a much better position to bring out these details. And at the moment, the incoming details that we have is that both the engines did not develop sufficient power.
Yes. I'm going to come to you on that issue of how both engines can go out, because that's extremely rare. That doesn't really happen. And that is really raising alarm here. But we also have a video that has been shot by one of the passengers. I'm told a British passenger who was on board before the crash. Let's just play that out.
We are at the airport, just boarding. Goodbye, India.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
10-hour flight back to England.
What's your biggest takeaway, Jamie?
We've done this already.
On a different
I'm
thing.
afraid to fly again.
What's my biggest takeaway? I don't know.
Yeah, fascinating. Great. Thanks. Thanks for your contribution. Okay. Yeah, my biggest takeaway
Maria,
is
you heard
don't
the
lose
engine?
your patience with your partner.
Yeah, we're already starting to.
Man, this
already
makes no
snapped at
sense.
me while we're having chai at the airport.
These poor people, they're not here
See,
anymore.
like nothing.
God.
Going back happily calm.
Yeah, you're not.
We are at the airport. Just boarding. Goodbye,
I thought they
India.
had a bad trip in
Thank you.
India.
Now we're flight back to England.
What's your biggest takeaway, Jamie?
We've done this already.
On a different thing.
All right. What's my biggest takeaway? I don't know.
Yeah, fascinating.
They
Great.
didn't know what their
Thanks.
biggest
Thanks for your
takeaway was going to be, did
contribution.
they? My God.
Okay. Yeah, my biggest takeaway
God, I
is
hate
don't
this.
lose your patience with your partner.
Yeah, we're already starting to. You've already snapped at me while we're having chai at the airport. I see you've learnt nothing.
Going back happily calm. We are at the airport. Just boarding. Goodbye, India.
Yeah, India, we get it.
Well, that
That's,
seems
that's
to be a
enough.
video made by two
They probably have
passengers,
family
British
watching.
passengers, young men who were going back to England. They were happy about it, and just kind of points out the fickleness of life. Nobody could have really seen this coming. Captain Sam Thomas, former pilot, and Mr. Sivaraman, who's from
Well, I
London,
like
the
you.
DGCA, both
We'll be looking
on the
for
scene with us.
Blanco
I do
Lirio
thank you for
tomorrow.
your time, Captain Sam Thomas. I just want to take your thoughts once again, because our viewers would be curious to know.
I need to email him. I want to get
How
him on
can
the
both
channel.
engines go
You think
out?
he'll come on?
That seems to be the case here, given
I want
how
to have him
quickly
on
the
an interview.
flight crashed, and the fact that the pilots didn't seem to be in any control. They didn't seem
Oh,
to have
you're
any
welcome. I was in the
communication
middle
left
of putting
with the
together a
ATC.
video for
What can really
tomorrow. I'll
cause
probably
this?
still get around to that.
A variety of reasons can cause
But
it,
this is
but
crazy. I mean,
in this particular case, what has happened, we would not know until we have the details. Now, you asked
there's
of
no news on
both
this.
engine failures. It has happened just short of London Heathrow once with a 777, and that was due to fuel starvation. Now, if both the engines do not get adequate fuel,
The airfoil was
could,
fine. The lift was
result in
fine,
both the engines
until
flaming
it
out.
wasn't.
Now, but that is a very, very, very rare scenario. And in this particular case, we don't know how both the engines have failed, or indeed, we are speculating this from the visuals that we have. So it's evident to a certain extent that there is a loss of thrust on both engines, but we would not be absolutely sure on that till such time that the DFDR shows us the results.
I want to ask Mr. Sivaraman also, how long do you think an investigation into a crash like this will take? All right, I think I've lost Mr. Sivaraman. Captain Sam Thomas, do you
Oh, it's a
want
good
to
thing
just
Musk
take this
bought Twitter
question? How
because there
long
are
do you think an
no
investigation of
network
a crash of
US
this nature
stations
may
showing
take?
this.
How quickly
That's
can
what I
we
can find.
get
I
to the
might be
bottom
wrong,
of
but
what happened?
The
Jesus.
DGCA would
We have to get all our news from the internet.
allocate this investigation to the Air Accident Investigation Board.
Oh, did they
AAIB,
mention it? Okay.
and they would
This
put
is
out
kind
a
of one of those
preliminary
things that you
report
go
in
on the
about
air
30
for.
days.
Not people
And
burning
thereafter,
tires,
based on
looting
whatever
sneakers. This is
information
kind
they
of
are
more
able to
important.
gather from the engine manufacturer, from the OEM,
Oh, you're welcome.
Boeing.
Like I said, I
And
just
may take
happened to see it
assistance
and
of
turned on
other
the
investigative agencies, because
machine here.
not very many qualified investigators are there in India, and it should take about a year. That's my experience with air accident investigation, and it generally takes about a year at least.
I know it sounds cruel, but I really hope
Currently,
this
of
is
course,
pilot
rescue
error. I don't want it to
operations
be the
are the
plane.
chief priority, and all of the ministries concerned, including the Home Ministry and the Civil Aviation
Which one did I
Ministry,
see
are
about
concerned
programming
only
the
with that.
computer
Those
wrong?
are hospital
Yeah.
visuals also coming in. There seem to be some who are injured, but we're unsure whether they are passengers who have been brought in an injured situation, or these are
And
people
it seems like the
who
engines
are
were on
included in the
idle at
surrounding where
least
the crash took
because
place.
it
Because
wasn't
the
generating any
unfortunate
lift,
part
even with
is,
no
Captain
flaps.
Thomas, is that this flight actually
Those
crashed
engines
in
are
buildings.
beasts.
And unfortunately, we're getting updates that the buildings that it crashed into had MBBS doctors, resident doctors, etc., staying in that hostel.
Very tragic, very tragic. It
We don't
does
know another
happen
view.
that
We don't know. This
when
is
an
happening,
airplane
and
crashes and in a
there's nothing new
thickly
on Twitter or
populated area,
anywhere.
there would be collateral damage on ground as well. It's
Yeah,
very, very
TC, I'm really
unfortunate,
sad about this one.
and
This is my favorite. But I mean, I'm
unfortunately,
sad about the people,
that is the
obviously.
nature of the beast, and very little we can do about it, except extend, the hospital
One of these
services
days, I'm going to
to
do a video. I used to have
the injured and
a horrible
minimize
fear of flying. I
whatever
couldn't fly at
damage
all
that has already
in my
occurred
20s.
by providing
It
proper
just
medical
started
assistance
like out of
timely.
nowhere. It took about 10 years to get over.
The area
Now I'm kind of
around
feeling
the
it again.
airport perimeter was, as the visuals themselves show, densely populated. Clearly, there were some
Okay.
facilities there as well for
I
MBBS
can turn
doctors,
those up.
hostels,
Thank
and
you.
multiple buildings of that nature with messes, etc., and several buildings housing medical students. Do you think there could be a need to
Is that better?
expand the non-residential or
No, it's
commercial
too loud.
areas around airports?
That may not be viable at the moment. If you look at the Mumbai airport, which is the current airport, not the Navi Mumbai, the Chhatrapati Shivaji International Airport, it is very, very densely packed up to the compound wall on both sides of the runway. Up to it touches the compound wall. So Ahmedabad is much.
Okay, at the risk of making that comment they're angry, I'm going to give you a recap and then I'll turn the volume back up. As far as we know, about an hour ago now, this 787 in India was taken off for England and got to about 600 feet, didn't seem to be configured, and it just stalled. It just fell out of the sky for some reason and landed on a building under construction. And that's really all we know, and that's all I can find on it. So anybody else, like I said, let me know.
Some of the phases that most commonly
Yeah,
it happens, but there is
Joe, should I put them louder?
that it could happen only at this phase of flight. It could happen at any phase of the flight, and takeoff and landings are more critical than, say, a climb or a cruise.
Yes. In this situation, Captain Thomas, it seems like the pilots didn't have any time at all. This could have transpired within a minute of takeoff.
Yes, because the altitude reported and what we have right now is 741 feet or 800 feet, which is pretty quick. They have also given a mayday call, and actually there is very little time to do. If you've lost both engines, there is very little you can do, and the more you try to deviate from the path, the faster you're going to stall. So what they have done from the visuals seems to be the only choice that they had and the only natural way to do it.
Losing both engines so soon after takeoff, we were being told that this flight, of course, the airplane had no issues. It had flown earlier today. It had reached Ahmedabad and was onward to London. There didn't seem to be any problems. Any guesses as to, how, apart from, let's say, bird ingestion issues, what else could cause this so quickly?
I mean, our business, you really don't hazard a guess, because then we lose face within the community. So because that is not something that is done. I understand.
But any technicalities that could come into play here?
Very difficult to say, ma'am. It's how to lose both engines. I can't recollect. I mean, except for the Hudson landing and the Heathrow, I think in the history of aviation, we've had very, very few dual engine failures. So there is not sufficient data to point to the fact that, this could cause, of course, fuel starvation or fuel that is contaminated is one of the reasons. But other than that, I don't know anything else that could bring down both engines, that too of a 787.
Yes, and this is why whatever experts we're speaking to, Captain, we're asking the same question and again, because the nature of the crash is raising alarm, isn't it? So soon after takeoff, even though takeoffs are sensitive, but losing both engines, crashing into a building, and literally no time that had elapsed for a flight that was clearly deemed to be fit. There were no issues with the airplane that had come to light. Earlier, I was speaking to a captain who pointed out that around this airport, there are many bird-related issues. Is that the only plausible reason that comes to mind?
I do understand. I have operated to Ahmedabad several times, and there is a bird issue. But once again, you would need very large birds and a large number of birds to put both the engines off, which is very, very unlikely. I know all over India we have a bird problem. That's in Bangalore we have a bird problem, but not significant enough to affect the engines of a 787. These are very big engines, very reliable engines. Even if you were to hit a bird, it will ingest it and throw it out pretty quickly.
Right. We're also playing out those visuals that are coming in of the Chief Minister having reached the civil hospital. Major focus right now is on getting help on ground, both at the crash site and also, of course, as far as medical facilities are concerned. We're getting to know from CRPF that about 150 personnel are involved in rescue operations.
Anybody see what Fox is showing? CNN and MSNBC are talking about Trump.
Know that, some
that's
operations
important.
have begun, in fact, at the Ahmedabad airport.
But
SpiceJet, one of the
this is it. This is all I can find.
operators have
Pisses me off.
put out a tweet saying that operations have resumed. Passengers are advised to check their flight status regularly via their website. So we were being told earlier that till 5 p.m. there would be a cancellation of all airport activity, given the nature of this attack having the nature of this crash having taken place so close to the airport premises. But at least as far as other operations are concerned, we are being told that they may be up now. People in Gujarat, the government, the agencies are working against time to ensure that they can mobilize as much help as possible. Visuals coming in from that civil hospital as well, where the Gujarat Chief Minister is also visible.
All right, Daryl, I respect your opinion, but be cool.
The facilities, I'm not sure of how many injured have been brought in so far. We don't have any update on that, but certainly we did get an update earlier that 133 have already been declared dead. That's almost half of the passengers list. 30 passengers were on board, plus 12 crew, including 2 pilots as well. All authorities are working to ensure that they can first focus on ensuring that both the crash site and other
YouTube will shut me
are
down. I can't show the BBC.
BSF has also pushed
can't even
2
play their
teams.
sound.
CRPF Rapid Action
But thank
Force,
you.
100
I would show
personnel
them.
have been sent, and from Group Center in Gandhinagar, 50 personnel have been told to reach Ahmedabad. I'm also joined by Captain C.S. Randhawa, who's president of the Federation of Indian Pilots. Thanks a lot for joining us, Mr. Captain Randhawa. Your first thoughts on this crash that has taken place?
It was an extremely tragic crash which has happened in Ahmedabad. And I came to know about just about 1 hour and 30 minutes after the crash. And I could attribute this maybe due to birds, because Ahmedabad has got a big problem about birds. So until unless, because the captain has given a mayday call. So a mayday call, if it was one engine failure, he could have easily handled it. Even if it was an engine fire, he could have handled it. So the two possibilities which are very, very likelihood which could have taken place is both engine failure due to bird strike or some jamming of the controls.
And how does that, we've spoken about bird ingestion issue and how rare that would be for both engines to go out because of that issue so quickly after takeoff. But you're talking about these jamming issues. Can you explain what they are and how they happen?
The jamming of the control could have taken place, maybe the elevator, because that is what is responsible for the aircraft to lift off. And I presume that the aircraft has initially taken off and maybe about 200-300 feet.
This is the tail. That black box is going to be fine. Looks like they already got it out. See the door open? They've already pulled it out.
Right. Exactly. There has been no communication after the Mayday call. Yes.
No communication
Victor, that's good
whatsoever.
news.
And
I didn't hear that.
like once in a million chance it does happen. Like we saw the Hudson crash where the aircraft was ingested. Both the engines were flamed out.
Is Sky News live?
Birds. So there is a possibility because I have flown a lot over Ahmedabad and I have done a lot of training flights, 20 landings in a day I have done, training. So birds are a big problem there. There is no doubt about it. So I foresee a very high chance of both engine failure.
That's what most experts are pointing out to, that we have spoken.
Yes.
But even that is extremely rare, isn't it? Both engines just don't go off.
Yes, it is a very rare possibility, but possible. In aviation, sometimes things happen the first time. Because it's not an old machine. It's a new aircraft, maybe about 7, 8 years old, and a technical fault like this has never taken place on. I have flown the 777 and of course on the 787 also I was converted. So these aircraft are unlikely to have such problems. Till now in the world, they have had no problem on the 787 and the 777s.
Yeah.
So very high possibility of a bird ingestion because he's given a Mayday call. Now that depends on what that Mayday call was.
So, sir, in your experience, these moments, what would these?
Hang on, I'm going to try and get Sky News, see if they don't shut me down. See how long it is before they call YouTube and shut me off.
Of them Indian, 53 British, 7 Portuguese, and 1 Canadian. There were 2 pilots and 10 members of crew. As we see these images of the impact on the ground, we have heard from the Reuters news agency reports from local sources that 30 bodies have been removed from a building. I can't tell you whether they are bodies directly linked to the aircraft
and
itself,
nobody even knows my channel's on
the ground. The Reuters news agency saying that 30 bodies have been recovered from a building. Reports more trapped inside. Like I say, I can't give you the exact specifics as to who is being affected when we hear those reports. We also have had no further update from the authorities with regard to any statuses, any fatalities. We will bring that to you as soon as we do. We've had reaction from both Narendra Modi, the Indian Prime Minister, and
Sky News is at full volume.
And we also got reaction from New Delhi television reporter Disha Bagchi.
This is a flight that was taking off from Ahmedabad airport and was due to land in London's Gatwick airport. What we do know now, the latest in this story is that Prime Minister Modi has taken stock of the situation. He is in constant touch with Home Minister Amit Shah as well as the Civil Aviation Minister. He is headed to the scene in Gujarat now to take stock of the situation there. There are about 6 teams of emergency services at the scene trying to take control of the scene. The latest that we have is that the plane, in fact, did crash into a medical college dorm or a hostel. And visuals show really the way the plane crashed, the fuselage of the plane, in fact, crashed into the building. And there are very devastating shots coming from the scene. And in terms of the people on board, there were 242 passengers on board. Within them, 169 of Indian nationals, about 53 UK nationals, and 7 Portuguese and 1 Canadian. And so far, we do not have any details regarding the casualties or those injured, but We do know that the emergency services has been constantly taking the injured to the hospital. And in terms of the cause of the crash, that remains unclear. There is speculation that it could be caused by an engine failure or even a bird hit, but we do know that the pilot did issue a mayday call just minutes before, roughly a minute before the
Yeah,
plane
that's true.
in fact
It could have been
crashed,
too
and the
busy.
air traffic control lost all communication
I don't
with
know why
the
they'd lose both
airplane. But
engines.
quite a devastating crash, and this is a tragedy that has taken place in India roughly 2 to 3 decades later. This is not something
Thank
that
you.
it's quite a deadly
It's nice to
crash
see
and one of the
438
deadliest
of you
in
remember my
India's
channel.
civil aviation history. So a very tragic incident in Ahmedabad. And in terms of what the reactions coming in, the UK Foreign
We can
Minister
stay here. If
as
you
well
want, let
as
me know. We can go
the
back
UK
to
High
India to
Commission
that channel.
has
Just
said
let
that
me
they're
know.
taking stock of the situation. They're in constant touch with the Indian authorities, and they're trying to understand and identify who the British
Yeah,
nationals were
Shamil.
on board this flight. So far, we know
I
that
heard there were some
53
survivors.
British
I don't.
nationals were
God,
on
I
board
don't know.
this flight that
I
was
hope so.
taking off from Ahmedabad Airport due to land in London's Gatwick Airport.
And Disha, any information regarding the emergency response? We've seen lots of footage of ambulances, firefighters, police. Any information
Really,
regarding
they're
the
taking
hospital
pieces away
response and the
already?
response from the emergency services?
So
Jesus.
6 teams of emergency authorities and emergency service teams have been deployed in the region, and they are currently trying to take stock of the situation, trying to clear
India better?
the injured, taking the injured out from under the rubble, and trying to really control the situation. Visuals really show how the plane completely burst into a ball.
Hang on.
Or which may have escaped the attention of anybody. I'm sure this will be retrieved in no time once the equipment is found.
Now, Mr. Patel, just to go back in time, because this fleet,
Yeah,
the
this is
Dreamliner, very, very safe. I think from what the experts are saying, and I only have them to sort of lean on for facts, they've said that this is the first time a Dreamliner has actually crashed anywhere in the world. Now, most of these Dreamliners were purchased, I suppose, about 10, 12, 15 years back by Air India when it was still government-owned. Obviously, there would have been a huge procedure that must have unfurled within government to select the plane. There would have been due diligence.
Air
There would have
India
been all
crashed.
sorts of studies that would have been conducted.
Well, most certainly. I mean, first, the procedure itself in government is a very robust procedure. Goes through several layers. And ultimately, the basic selection of aircraft is done only on technical parameters. Because, the airline, requires a certain type of aircraft for certain, lengths of the flights. You want to go to the US, you want to go to the European countries, or to, 8-hour flights, 12-hour flights, and so on. And the kind of configuration you want. Let me also tell you that the Dreamliner, at the time it was ordered, was one of the most sophisticated, advanced fly-by-wire aircraft which was going to be produced. And it was ordered by probably most major airlines in the world, Air India also being one of the early ones. And to now even discuss it would be unfair, because after this particular aircraft itself, which has crashed, had been flying for almost 11 years. And if you see any major airline in the world, and if you go at any moment of time, there would be more than 1,000 787s up and flying any part of the world. So I'm sure when, of course, the orders are placed, every other parameter is also examined. And of course, it is the airline's requirement which primarily drives what is the choice of aircraft. Let me also remind you that in the world for wide body, you only have 2 aircraft manufacturers. You have a Boeing and an Airbus, and the comparable aircraft are aircraft flying. But even technically, an aircraft, is so designed that it can overtake a lot of functions which a human, mind and hand cannot, perform in the shortest possible time. So the response time of an aircraft, its systems are very, very robust.
Here, of course, there seems to have been a catastrophic failure of lift, and that didn't give the pilot, even though very experienced pilot with lots of man hours of flying, didn't give much of time to the pilot to even react. And only a mayday call, and as you said yourself, 60 seconds, and it was down laden with fuel. Obviously, there will be questions asked. I'm at this moment as in the dark as anyone else, Mr. Patel, about what could have been the reasons, but there has been a lot of internal strife within Tata after it took over this particular airline. Singapore Airlines came into it, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of cost cutting, lots of valuable AI senior engineers were sort of let go of. Could this have at some level affected operations, maintenance, checks, all of that? Do you think, or it's too premature to get into any of this?
I think it is premature. See, the other point is, Rahul, the fact of the matter is that there's a human being, a senior experienced captain who's flying the machine.
Yeah.
And he has every right to say, I cannot fly this machine because it is unfit to fly or there's a technical deficiency. And if there was one, he wouldn't have done it himself.
Yes.
So I think it's hazarding a little bit of a wild guess. Yes, but I would also like to say that, the maintenance of Air India compares to the best anywhere in the world. Now, yes, you are also plagued with certain older aircraft. You are plagued with certain other problems, like you just said, because it's been, integration of the old with the new. But that does not come into the way of the safety of the aircraft per se. And I would therefore say, and I can also say with a lot of sense of confidence, that Indian aviation checks and balances of the DGCA and other, the airline also has its own manual. The airline also has its own SOPs. The airlines don't cut corners, especially an airline like Air India, to, save cost or something just for the heck of making some more money. I would say that Air India as an airline has its own SOPs put very, very strongly in place. And again, this commander, or many of the commanders, or most of the commanders, I would say, flying a 787 have so many thousands and thousands of hours of pilot in command that they know the aircraft inside out. They know everything what needs to be done. And I don't think an aircraft flying to London on a 9.5-hour flight would have taken off without the proper pre-flight checks by the captain or his second in command.
What would you now say in the aftermath to passengers? Remember, the aviation sector was really, really coming back after COVID, the disruption of COVID, one of the hardest hit sectors, as we know. But it's really bounced back. We have record number of flights, record number of airports opening across the country. I am sure for a few days there's going to be some consternation, maybe even a little bit of apprehension in the minds of a large number of passengers, civilians, customers, etc. What's your message to them?
Well, my message is that, very sad and tragic. I'm sure people do get shaken up when they see such, visuals on their screen. But aviation still, by far, is the safest mode of transportation anywhere in the world. And if you consider the accident to the number of flights ratio, I think it will be far, 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 safer than any other public transport. So let's not panic. Let's not think that this could be, an everyday affair. And we should be patient, confident, and also be confident that our aviation in India is absolutely in good shape. Let's not, see one incident. This accident, unfortunately, happened in India. Probably it could have happened anywhere in the world. When we see a visual in any other part of the world, we don't get so upset. Because it's happened in our country, we will certainly be, stirred and shaken. let's just have faith. Our aviation sector
Michael, it
is
was
good,
taken off
sound, safe,
600 feet
and
off the ground is all it
this
got.
is, of course, a lesson. We should, strengthen our systems even further, and we should learn from some things. If at all, the inquiry, once it's complete, will, throw up some definitely revelation as to what has happened. So we should be, concerned, but we shouldn't be scared, and we shouldn't, stop flying or reduce our flying, or every time you fly, you start praying to God. Of course, we pray otherwise, but we don't have to worry about safety and pray. That's all I'm trying to say.
You can't rule out what if one of the pilots pulled the throttles back when they were fighting.
As we pray, of course, for those who were in harm's way. You're seeing that building. Thank you, Mr. Patel, very much for speaking to me.
My thoughts and prayers
yes.
are with everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You see that visual on the left of your screens, viewers? That's the tail of the plane that has crashed through a hostel attached to a medical college.
Yeah, sad day for London in the UK today as well.
Of this particular airport in Ahmedabad, the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport. And we're apprehending that there might be casualties because this accident took place at around 1:45. And it was lunch hour.
The plane.
There
I
were
love
many
that
students,
plane.
many doctors, aspiring doctors
Super
in the
quiet.
canteen. And the plane crashed into the canteen. And those visuals tell the story. Viewers, very quickly, let me give you a quick update. Operations have resumed at the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport in Ahmedabad. This is PIB India putting out that update. The airlines and the aviation ministry have put out a medical emergency helpline and a control room helpline. It's 0793508211. That number will flash as it is right now under our screen. You can see it. Can call in if you have apprehensions that some of your relatives or others that you know might actually be in harm's way. I want very quickly to give you a quick overview, viewers, as we continue our coverage. The RPF disaster management team, headed by ASC and ADI, plus 6 staff, along with hospital team, 6 doctors, 20 staff, and 7 ambulance, rendering all possible help in rescue operation. The tragic Air India flight crash at Ahmedabad. We don't still know if there have been any survivors. We are gleaning through data that is coming in through the hospitals to figure that one out. But quite clearly, that's the timeline to the right of your screens. At 1:39, it takes off within 60 seconds. It has a catastrophic...
I forgot Tata bought Air India.
Loss of lift. The plane goes down, goes crashing into a building which was attached to a hospital, education institution, goes straight into that building. The building itself is covered by ATF. The plane was loaded with ATF because, as you know, it was taking off to travel to Gatwick Airport in London, or the extremities of London. The MEA has reacted and said that details would be shared with governments of foreign countries, because there were a number of citizens from other nations on board this international flight. Air India chairman N. Chandrasekaran is likely to reach Ahmedabad tonight. That's what we're being told. Large number of residents, we're being told, are also feared dead after the aircraft crashed into the Atulyam super speciality doctor's residence. At the time of the incident, around 200 people were residing in the building, the 94 flats there, and you can see the absolutely charred super frame of that building after the plane dived into it, completely losing control. There was a mayday call that was issued by the pilots before the ATC could even sort of respond. The plane went down in that ball of fire. We're also being told that the Ahmedabad airport that had been shut down has now been reopened, and flight safety protocols are being followed with utmost care. There are also directions that have gone out to prevent people when they take off, take photographs. So you won't be allowed to do all of that.
Man, there's some
because,
gruesome
clearly
pictures on
the
Twitter
flight
right
path,
now.
Let me go across to Payal for more updates. We're told that Union Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, will be landing there.
The entire fuselage of the plane is
what are the
inside of a
updates?
building, and they're videotaping it. What's
As
left
far as
of
the Ahmedabad airport is concerned,
who
Rahul,
was
is
in the
one of the
plane.
busiest airports in Gujarat, because not only does it have so many domestic flights coming, it's a busy destination as far as businesses are concerned, but it also has a lot of international connectivity as well. But that airport has been opened up, in a calibrated manner. So passengers have been requested that they should check the timings of the flight, etc., and only then move to the airport. As far as the Union Home Minister is concerned, he is expected to reach there in some time, and the Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu is also expected to reach anywhere between 5:30 and 6 p.m. And just a short while ago, Muralidhar Mohal, the Minister of State for Civil Aviation, along with all the DGC officials,
I'm going on the record.
along with
It's
the
not
Civil
the
Aviation
plane.
Secretary, Mrs. Sami
It
Sinha,
can't be the plane.
they are all on board, so they should also be landing in Ahmedabad in a couple of hours as well. And this flight of happiness and hope, has turned into a flight of tragedy for so many people, who were looking to go back to their homes, especially the foreign nationals, and to many as well. So, our hearts really go out to these people. But, like I said, the government of the day has said that they'll get to the bottom of this, and nobody who is involved with any negligence whatsoever will be spared, is what we're given to understand. But yes, flights are going to be resuming in a calibrated manner, and therefore all kind of numbers, whether it's medical emergency numbers or new numbers concerning finding the loved ones even at hospitals, etc., have been put out by the civil administration. Bhupendra Patel, the Chief Minister, was at the civil hospital just a short while ago. So all hands on the deck approach, Rahul.
Absolutely. There are also more updates that are coming in, viewers, as we scroll through the news updates that are coming up on my screen here. We're also being told that the Air India has called upon the authorities to investigate and ensure that all examinations, forensic examinations of the crash site, etc., are conducted utmost. We're also being told that Air India management officials have held meetings with DGCA staff. Air India has been asked to submit the health report of all their aircrafts. There are also some pictures that make the heart really weak coming in from inside the mess of the hostel where the plane crashed. Devastating scenes there. One just hopes that the casualty figures are not as high as what appears from the scene of devastation. We're being told that former Chief Minister of Gujarat, Mr. Rupani,
I can't believe how
was
few
on
people are
board.
paying
We don't
attention
still
to
know
this.
whether he has
News-wise.
survived this or he's injured.
At
We
least
have no
in my
updates
stupid
really on his
country.
well-being, but he was a former Chief Minister of Gujarat from 2016 to 2021, state president of Gujarat. When his name was declared as the Chief Minister, he took over from Anandiben Patel. Miss Anandiben Patel, former MP from the Rajya Sabha and a two-time MLA, hailed from Rajkot West, came from an influential Jain community. He didn't fight the 2022 Assembly poll, citing his wish to step back from electoral politics. He was currently in charge of Punjab for the BJP and was on his way to England and was aboard that flight. There are pictures also coming in of the ill-fated crew of this flight. And we're told that there were at least 10 crew members on board this flight from different parts of the country. Many leaders, many countries are extending commiserations, shock at the events. Remember, this is the first time in recorded history that the Dreamliner has gone down. Very, very reliable aircraft. Many people are convinced that this aircraft could not have suffered the failures that are being attributed to it. But viewers, as we know, one can't give in to speculation. This is an extremely sensitive situation right now, and therefore one cannot hazard any information on what could.
I forget which one of you said it in the comments, but yeah, what if they lost one engine
told now no survivors
and they shut down the wrong one? That would explain it.
We are going to not take that at face value till the authorities come out and give us some sort of a confirmation. But Payal, it does seem that the outlook is not good. Okay, we
Yeah,
don't
Danny,
have
he
Payal.
sent
We're
a
going to go
mayday,
back to
but
Payal
they
in just a
replied
couple
and
of
he
moments,
didn't reply back.
But
They lost
hotline
all
numbers have been set
communication.
up for people to
He
check
might have been
in
too busy
and find out on
aviating,
the
navigating, and
state of affairs and, of course,
whatever.
on their own relatives. We're being told that there were 53 British
Praying.
nationals, 7 Portuguese, and 1 Canadian on board this Air India flight. 169 Indian nationals were on board. It was a flight that was almost full, Ahmedabad-London flight. And at this time of the year, viewers, there is huge traffic between the two destinations, given the fact that this is a peak holiday season. I want to go straight across to Anvit. Anvit, a lot of people heading out to London on this particular flight. We're getting some details. We're being told unofficially that the possibility of survivors is very, very slim. What's the update that you're getting?
Yeah, certainly, you see, Rahul, that toll was what we are being unofficially confirmed by the sources on the ground. It is being said that it has already been counted up to 150, and it certainly is unfortunately expected to only rise from here, because the kind of incident it was, and we initially also saw how the plane went up in flames. It clearly was indicative of the fact that the number of casualties and fatalities would certainly be high, not just those in the plane, but also on ground. The collateral damage that it has caused, because it was a heavily residential area, and the building in which the plane had crashed, which was the doctor's hostel, that also, from there also, a number of occupants had to be rushed to medical facilities, and deaths have been reported from there as well. So ground damage certainly is there, but all what we are being told by the officials who are in this rescue operation, that number of survivors is really, really bleak, as what we are getting from the ground. Also, because the incident that this is, and what we are being told by the experts, is that the two major chances that this incident took place, one is dual engine failure, which could be, one reason could be power outage, or another reason could also be bird ingestion. But it is also being said that it's very unlikely that bird ingestion would cause both engines to go down. Another reason what we're learning is could be control jamming, which is also a subject matter of investigation, and the AID will now take over the investigation, as their teams are already on ground, and the investigation in this manner will also be done. But what we are learning from the ground is, yes, that
I
the
think it was
fatalities have
something
increased to more than
nefarious.
150, and chances of
I think
any
we're going to
survivors
find out it
are really,
wasn't
really
the
bleak,
plane.
which is unfortunate.
Well, that is very, very sad
Indeed,
news,
this
if
is
true.
awful.
We're going to
news.
hold back on giving you those numbers, because we don't have confirmation from official sources, and CNN News 18 will not report casualty figures, even speculate on casualty figures, given the fact that this would be extremely traumatic. That's the moment
Yeah,
of
but you show a
crash,
video
viewers.
of
You
two
can see
guys
that the
before they
plane
died
lost
saying goodbye.
its ability to lift off.
You'll do that.
Even its, as you can see, landing gear had not been retracted. So, moment the plane takes off, it presumably experienced a catastrophic loss of lift, as some of our experts have told us. The pilot had very little time to react, about a minute, in which a mayday call was issued to the ATC. The ATC responded to the mayday call, got
Yeah, but
no
would the gear
response,
have
looked
been up
out,
by then?
and saw a ball of flames engulfing the skyline. And a minute after crash,
Oh, yeah, Lazarus,
it was,
they will.
because, as you know, planes do travel at a particular speed, therefore it becomes
I'm looking
easy
forward to an NTSB
assess
press
the
conference I
length
can
that
put
they would
out.
have traversed, and therefore back calculate the time that they would have spent on air, in air, that is. And you can see that ball of flames going up, lighting up the sky, and completely overshadowing the afterground. And that is because this plane was laden with ATF. It had just been refueled. It's taking off. It had come in from Delhi, we are told, landed in Ahmedabad.
I love these guys. We're not going to tell you the names,
Surveilled
but we're going to show you the explosion and the death over and over
any
again.
technical issues, maintenance, etc. The plane then crashes into a building. The building is part of a medical establishment, and the exact building it crashes into is a canteen. And lunch hour was on.
No,
In the middle of
NTSB has
lunch
plenty
hour,
of funding. They're
and
fine.
parts of the fuselage and debris from the plane lying littering this particular building, and you can see that the tail section of this building is sticking out. Tail section of the plane is sticking out of the building, and inside we're
Thinking
told
the
there were
FBI is going
several
to get involved
doctors
too.
who were undergoing training, and those people have been injured. Some of them might not have made it out. There are, of course, more visuals of the debris on fire in the immediate aftermath. You can see the ground scorched, trees, just about anything within the perimeter of the crash site reduced to ash, carbon. You can see those pictures. Part of the building also engulfed in
I get it.
ATF, singed and covered in soot. Complete devastation. All these pictures coming in, obviously an attempt being made to douse the fire, but it's a bit too late. All of these are the buildings next to the wreckage. Near the plane crash site, a large number of parts of the plane strewn all over the place. And that's the frontage of this building, which has been reduced to ash. It's covered in soot because, as I told you, the plane was laden with ATF. And you can see other remnants of this plane, electronic parts, etc., strewn all over the
I
place.
couldn't be a
There's some
TV guy.
bits of
Apparently,
damage that
TV
might have
guys have to
survived,
talk
but
nonstop
most of this
and not
particular
show you the
craft
pictures.
consumed completely, and that's the debris that is being removed, is salvaged. Obviously, there would be a desperate search for the black box because that needs to be taken and examined to determine what could have gone wrong. Right now, no use speculating on it beyond the fact that the plane suffered a catastrophic loss of lift. Now, what that was due to, we don't know. Was it engine failure? Was it a bird hit? We have no
Gravity.
clue. And these are survivors who are being rushed to hospitals. We don't quite know if these are passengers or if these were people on the ground or
Seriously.
they were the young
Why do they
doctors.
start calling them
Let's
orange
go back
boxes?
to Anvit. Anvit, these people who are being wheeled into the hospital, do we have any clarity on who they are? What's the nature of their injuries, etc.?
A plane
Okay, we don't
fell
quite
on
have
them.
him, but there is a lot of grief, a lot of shock on the ground. And you can see that being reflected on the faces of some of those people who were witnesses. It would have been very, very traumatic, not just for those who came and bid their loved ones farewell, but also those in England who were expecting their loved ones to land in the next 11 hours or so.
You know, another thing that
These
I find
scenes,
odd right
viewers,
now
are
is that
extremely
that's the only
unfortunate.
video
This
on
particular
Twitter
brand of aircraft, the
is really that
Dreamliner, has
one
not
view of the plane landing.
in its history
Normally, you
suffered a
get
crash.
dozens and
And we can
dozens of
tell you
views.
that
For
Boeing
some reason,
shares
that's just the only one they
are
have.
crashing right now across the globe because, once again, there are questions being asked of the company. Boeing has had its issues. It was caught up in a lot of issues related to its operations, etc. There have been many strikes within Boeing, talking about corners being cut, etc., etc. I don't want to go there because
You just went
that's
there,
a whole
dude.
different can of worms, might even be unrelated totally to the aircraft they produce, because the aircraft has performed extremely well, known for being very, very dependable and extremely efficient, and therefore a large number of these prototypes were sold. More than 1,000 have been sold since the Dreamliner, this particular Dreamliner, was brought into service and incepted and inceptualized. So there you have it, viewers. These are the pictures coming from all the parts of the city. Ahmedabad right now is caught in the grip of this crisis, and heart goes out to those who were expecting or are expecting the kith and the kin of these passengers. We're expecting for them to have a safe flight. Let me go across to Anvit. Anvit, what is the latest coming in on perhaps the preliminary estimations as to what might have gone wrong? Any more details about the circumstances under which this flight took off? Anvit, can you hear me? Okay, Anvit, can you hear me? Are you there with us? Flight AI 171 Ahmedabad to London, reportedly carrying 242 passengers. Troops of 100 RAF and GCCRPF Gandhinagar involved in rescue operations. More details, of course, waited on casualty figures, but we're told that the prognosis is not too bright, that many people would have perished in this. The details, of course, to the left of your screens. Anvit, if you're there, can you hear me? Yes. What are the details we have? We know for sure that the Dreamliner, this particular make of the Dreamliner, has never had a crash. And it's the first crash anywhere in the world of a Dreamliner, of 787 Dreamliner. It had a call sign VTA and B, was the 26th to have been purchased by Air India. These are numbers, of course. Data don't tell the entire story. What are you learning from your sources?
Certainly, see, like you rightly pointed out, that Dreamliner and Boeing 787s do not have a history of such incidents, and since their introduction in probably 2011, This is the first Boeing 787 Dreamliner that is reportedly crashed or met with a mishap that we are reporting on. And if we talk about the situation on ground, visuals are really scary. Death toll has already crossed what unofficial figures are around 150. And the sources that are on ground are reporting that it is likely to grow because the kind of incident it was, and how we have the visuals we've been playing out for our audiences, that how the plane as it crashed, it went up in flames, and the chances of survival of any passenger that was on board are bleak, is what the officials are saying. However, it has not been officially confirmed that all
I showed
on
you the
board
top
are
news
dead.
in the
It's
U.S.
not
right now.
confirmed
It's
yet.
unbelievable.
Some have been rushed to medical facilities. It is awaited to know that if they will be recuperated from the
Did you
condition they
know,
were recovered
Tristan?
in or not. Also, other than those who were on board, 242, including crew and captain. Other than that, the building in which the plane crashed, it also had a number of occupants, and more than 50 of them had to be rushed to medical facilities. There could be, certainly there is chances of survivors because the plane crashed over that building, and there could be survivors in that. But yes, certain
I'll be
deaths
back
are
getting
also
more
being
Diet Coke.
reported from there. Amidst all this, Ahmedabad airport has also put out a tweet saying that the airport is now operational. It had been initially shut following the incident. The airport had been shut for operations, and now it has been open for operations also. If we talk about the details of the incident that took place, the initial details that we had got, revisiting those details, the flight had taken off at 1:39 from Ahmedabad. It was bound for Gatwick, near London, and the accident took place immediately, just right 8 to 10 minutes after the takeoff.
We are told actually it took place within
flight.
60 seconds, actually, a minute and a half. It wasn't 8 to 10 minutes. It was just within a minute. So I just want to quickly come in there. Anvit, just stay on with me, Kaj. I have some reactions to play out. MLA Darshana Vaghela said that, quote, I was in my office nearby when the plane crashed and there was a loud thud. The flats of the doctors have been damaged. The rescue operation will continue, unquote. This is ANI quoting her. ANI also put out the reaction of an individual. He said, and I quote, my son had gone to the hostel during lunch break and the plane crashed there. My son is safe and I have spoken to him. He jumped from the second floor, so he suffered some injuries, says Ramila, who reached the civil hospital in Ahmedabad. So clearly a parent, very worried parent. Now, Anvit, what about those people who found themselves on the ground but in the direct line of the crashed plane?
See, the incident was completely unforeseen, and when this happened, it certainly raised panic among those who were on ground. Some people had caught this incident on their phones, and they have recorded how the plane went down and the flight path as it was declining on its flight path. That has been recorded. Some videos we have played also on screen. But yes, there certainly was panic when visuals were coming on from on ground. We also saw how locals had gathered, the hundreds of people had gathered at the crash site, which also was another challenge for the first responders, be it the police, the firefighters, disaster management authorities, or the paramedics and ambulances. That also was a challenge, and many people had gathered,
Okay.
but that is also one reason that
Anvit, just hold your thoughts. That is the Gujarat Chief Minister, who has just emerged from the hospital after visiting those that were taken there. And we showed you pictures of people being wheeled into hospital about an hour and a half back. One just hopes that the prognosis from the hospital is not as full of foreboding as what we're being told by our sources. And on the right, you can see that's the mess that has been reduced to ashes there. Parts of the plane, this is the tail of the plane crashing into the roof section of this cafe, bringing the roof down. An eyewitness has been quoted as having saying that after my office 200 meters from here, as soon as I stepped out of the office, I heard a very loud noise and smoke filled the area. Suddenly a commotion broke out here, and then we saw that this incident had occurred. When I reached the spot, I saw debris scattered here. There was a fire and smoke was billowing here. Nothing was visible. We then came to know that the wings of the aircraft fell here and that an aircraft crashed. We don't know about the casualties, but there is a building here where doctors reside. And that's the building that we were talking about, viewers, out of which is sticking out the tail of the plane in a rather ominous way. Now let's play out some eyewitness depositions.
यहीं मेरे ऑफिस में बैठी थी, जैसा धड़ाका हुआ मैं वहाँ ऑफिस से वहाँ गई, बहुत बड़ा प्लेन
Manan, I
क्रैश
heard
हुआ था, तो बहुत धुआं और आग
there are
लगी
quite
थी।
a few ground casualties.
जो
Just no
डॉक्टर्स के
report on
फ्लैट
how
थे
bad they are.
उनको बहुत डैमेज हुए हैं, और उसमें से कितने डॉक्टरों को हमने निकाला है, लोकल कार्यकर्ता और सब मिलके। बाद में जो प्लेन में से निकाले हैं वो लोग भी बहुत बड़ी दुखद दुर्घटना, कुछ अभी कोई अंदाजा नहीं लग रहा है। रहने वालों को भी बहुत नुकसान हुआ है। हमारी ट्रेन जा रही थी 1 बजे जा रही थी प्लेन, 1:10 की फ्लाइट थी और जा रही थी लंदन। लंदन जाने से पहले ही क्रैश हो गया प्लेन। मेरी साड़ी था वो खम्बीसर थी और लंदन जा रही थी।
हाँ फिर
1 घंटे में समझ रहा है तो प्लेन क्रैश हो गया है, इसलिए मैं वापस अहमदाबाद से बाहर निकल गया था, तो वापस आए सिविल में आ गया। अभी कुछ भी समाचार नहीं मिला है।
यहाँ पे जो ऑफिस से बाहर निकला तो मैंने देखा कि जोर से आवाज आया विंग्स का, फिर पूरा धुआं भर गया। लोग यहाँ से भगदड़ मची, उसके बाद आके देख रहे थे ये हादसा की स्थिति।
अच्छा, तो आप यहाँ पर पहले आए तो आपने क्या देखा?
आने के बाद देखा कि पूरा मलबा बिखरा हुआ, आग लगी है, पूरा धुआं गुबारा है, कुछ भी दिखाई नहीं दे रहा, समझ में नहीं आ पा रहा था क्या है। हाँ, उसके बाद पता चला कि ये विंग्स गिरा हुआ है, फ्लाइट वो किया, और फिर प्रशासन ने चारों तरफ से घेर लिया।
जब से आए कितने बजे हुआ तकरीबन ये हादसा? कुछ समय
लगभग 45 मिनट पहले हादसा हुआ।
Because everyone expressing shock and pretty much confirming the sequence of events there. The plane takes off within a minute. It's down. It crashes into a building that houses a number of doctors because it is part of a medical establishment. In fact, the building was the cafeteria. You can see the pictures on the left of the plane, tail of the plane that is sticking out of the top of that building, the roof section of the building. Below, those are the pictures.
You know, that plane crashed in Azerbaijan. There was like 37 different angles of it crashing. And here, in a country of 1.5 billion, we have one view.
We're also being told that
Something wrong with that.
Meek, a British citizen listed as a passenger on Air India flight 171, reportedly shot a final Instagram short story just before takeoff, and that remains his final testament to the world. Very, very, very sad situation. Passengers from across the world on this flight. Remember, there were Canadians, there were British nationals, more than 50 British nationals, 169 Indian nationals, a number of Canadian nationals. The US government also putting out a statement, not just in sympathy, but also calling upon its citizens to check with the consulate there to ensure that they can make their way back home. Let me go across to Anvit. Anvit, what's the latest you have for us?
Rahul, what we are getting from ground is that the death toll has already crossed 140 and 150, and this is what the sources on ground are telling us. And among the passengers, the 242 passengers that were on board, Air India has also confirmed that there were 169 of them were Indian nationals, while 53 were British nationals. There also was 1 Canadian national on board, and 7 Portuguese nationals were there. The injured have certainly been taken to hospitals, but death toll is likely to rise. And from those who were on board the aircraft, it has almost confirmed. There's no official word though, but chances of survivors are really bleak in this incident. As we have also seen the visuals from ground, a number of locals had gathered on spot, and it is also one reason because the area was heavily populated one. That is also one reason that there will certainly be fatalities from ground as well. The building that was hit by the plane, that is a doctor's hostel. Many of the occupants of the building have also been rushed to medical facilities, and there certain deaths have also been reported. The exact numbers are not still out, but it is expected that agencies certainly will be putting out the numbers soon. The police is expected to give out the numbers soon, but so far, even now, hours after the incident, focus is on rescue because many people who are under the debris, who are in the building, they are being taken out. They are all being rushed to medical facilities, and soon we'll get the numbers also as to how many have been injured and what are the exact number of fatalities. But what we are learning is that out of 242 people, which includes 2 pilots and 10 cabin crew, number of survivors who were on that plane is really bleak to be.
Well, hoping against hope, praying that we get some good news. Viewers, what a terrible tragedy to grip the nation. Shocked, many people shocked. Reactions coming from across the world, from pretty much every global leader commiserating with the Indian authorities, with the Indian government and the people of our country.
I think I was on mute when I said that.
What can you tell us?
I was talking about the plane. Did you see it when it took off? Watch when they show the video of it taking off again. How, as it gets past the airport, the nose continues to climb, and the wings continue to flex as if they're pulling back on the yokes to try and get it to keep taking off. But if it was in a stall, can see it's going up. If it was in a stall configuration, you got to drop that nose. And it looked like they kept trying to pull back on it. So I don't know what that means, if anything, but if it was stalling, don't be pulling back.
Lackluster, attitude at all as far as this is concerned. And therefore, all the investigating agencies concerning this have been lost. They were thought we'll have to just wait and see how this forensic investigation and other investigation will really follow. And therefore, Civil Aviation Minister Rammohan Naidu is expected to arrive in Ahmedabad
No, not that kind of
now.
stall, just losing lip. That whole
Amit Shah, who's also the son of the soil, is also reaching Ahmedabad very shortly.
Of course, at that point,
And
it's too late
all the
anyway.
NDRF and
You'll lose
everything
that
are
kind of
already
lip.
there in Ahmedabad and helping with the rescue and relief operation. And another flight has taken off from Delhi to Ahmedabad. It consists of officials from the DGCA, consists of the Civil Aviation Secretary also, and Muligar Mahal, who is the Minister of State for Civil Aviation. The government of India has assured not just the people over here, but also to all the foreign nationals and their countries that a thorough investigation really will be done. It's very difficult at this point in time to point a finger at anybody in particular, given the fact that this is a modernized equipment, it's a modernized flight that had actually taken off from Ahmedabad. And therefore, all efforts will be made sure that we get to the bottom of it as well.
Right.
And there is something which the government of India has assured.
Well, of course, premature viewers to even speculate about the reasons. It's too early in the day to do that. But clearly, there was something very, very wrong that led to this unprecedented tragedy. No Dreamliner has crashed, especially of the 787 Boeing variety, anywhere in the world. India is the first place where this has happened. So obviously, viewers, there's going to be a lot of dismay, and there will also be a huge focus. Muralidhar Mohol, who is the Minister of State for Civil Aviation and Cooperation at the center, has also spoken on this issue. Hardeep Singh Puri has also spoken on this issue. Let's go straight across to some reactions that we're playing out now.
कुछ समय पहले दोपहर को एक दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण घटना घटी है एयर इंडिया का AI-171 जो अहमदाबाद.
According to CNN, 5 minutes ago, the city police commissioner told the Associated Press that there appears to be no survivors from the crash plane. It appears there are no survivors in the plane crash, Commissioner G.S. Malik told the AP. He added that with the plane crashing into a residential area with offices, some locals would also have died. Expect figures and casualties to change.
पे हमारी मीटिंग भी अभी यहाँ पे हुई है और वहाँ पे अभी इमरजेंसी में जो बचाव राहत का कार्य चल रहा है उस पर चर्चा हुई है. अभी किसी बात पर बोलना यानी कि कितनी कैजुअलिटी हुई क्या हुआ तो उस पर थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा.
There's a plane crash. Ahmedabad to London flight ਸੀਗੀ ਸਵੇਰੇ 8 ਵਜੇ ਦਾ ਸਮੇਂ ਸੀਗਾ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਐਂਡ ਉਹਦੇ there's an accident but ਹੁਣ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਖਬਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ. ਅਸੀਂ ਤੇ ਇਹੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਰਥਨਾ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਿੰਨੇ all those who were on board should be all right and we should await the news. I don't think one should speculate on that.
बहुत दुख की बात है,
कैजुअलिटी कंफर्म नहीं बटा,
बहुत दुख की बात है कि एयर इंडिया का एयरक्राफ्ट क्रैश हुआ है और जब एयरक्राफ्ट क्रैश होता है तो घटना बहुत बड़ी होती है. इसलिए इस समय पर इतनी ही जानकारी मिली है तो हमारी अपील यही होगी सरकार से, हालांकि सरकार खुद कोशिश कर रही होगी कि सभी यात्रियों को बचाएं, सुरक्षित पहुंचाएं और उनका इलाज हो. और हमारी भगवान से ये प्रार्थना है कि अगर इतना बड़ा एक्सीडेंट हुआ है तो किसी की जान न गई और हमारे पायलट भी सुरक्षित रहे।
Viewer statement coming out from Boeing. And located at a particular center. So real-time information will be available to them. Of course, they would also be wanting to look at the crash footage. They will also be looking at the black... Anvit is there with us. Yes, so the black box is very, very important. Do we have any idea about whether the black box has been recovered as yet, Anvit? What are you learning?
The 787 has video too.
See, right now the operations on ground are focusing on rescue and evacuation, and all the passengers who were on the plane, as well as the casualties that have happened on ground, they need to be evacuated and taken to medical facilities.
Really?
Even the bodies, the charred bodies that we've seen visuals, they need to be moved to mortuaries, and PM will be conducted, and those formalities need to be done. And only after that, see, AIB teams are already on ground, and there will be DGCA officials are also already there. And they are looking into parallel investigations, or have also begun into the cause of the probable cause of this crash. It might take some time to retract the black box and get information from it, and the technical data that will be retrieved. Based on that, it will be ascertained as to what may have gone wrong, because there are multiple speculations as of now. Also, the last moment communication between the pilot and the ATC before the mayday call was given. If there was any communication, or if there was any communication from the pilot highlighting that there is some issue with the aircraft, that also will be crucial in this investigation. So far, when we have spoken to the experts, they have highlighted two possibilities. One is the way the plane went down and declined on its flight path. One probable cause could be dual engine failure, which is certainly a rare thing to happen, rarest of the rare, in fact. This, however, it is being suspected that there is a birds problem in Ahmedabad. It is also in the Bangalore airport, we have reported in the past, but the menace of birds need to be really huge to bring both engines down. So that is also what makes it a rare happening, and that is one reason why the experts are saying that fuel starvation could be one reason, or fuel contamination could be one reason that why both the engines stopped working mid-air. That is one reason. Another, what they're talking about, is there could be a power outage or control jamming, which is also a possibility that would bring the plane down. So these are the reasons that the AIB will also be looking at, and also the DGCA.
Well, can you confirm? Can you confirm, because there are reports, of course, coming out that those are the Minister of Home Affairs. He's taking a flight right now to Ahmedabad. Of course, this area does fall under his constituency, or very near to his constituency, viewers, and he's on his way there. And we know that the Union Home Minister has already expressed his shock at this incident. We also
I'm going to turn this down for a second. This is on the Daily Mail. Lieutenant Colonel John Davison, retired former Air Force pilot and editor of Felons Assistance and Commercial Aviation Safety Consultant, said that based on preliminary flight tracking data, the plane appeared to have reached takeoff speed, but not altitude, suggesting either a very late rotation or a stall shortly after takeoff. There are a number of possible scenarios: thrust or engine performance issues, excessive aircraft weight, you guys have all mentioned that, poor trim, poor flap, or a more critical failure that affected the aircraft's ability to climb. Weather, wind shear, or even a bird strike can't be ruled out. Another senior pilot, circulating footage of plane's terrifying descent looked like a case of multiple bird hits wherein both engines may have lost power. But we didn't see any birds. The takeoff was perfect, he said. I just believe short of taking up the gear, the aircraft started descending, which can happen only in case the engine loses power and the aircraft stops developing lift. Aviation expert Sanjay Lazar noted that Flight 171 of Boeing 787 Dreamliner was only 11 years old, unlikely to have underlying technical issues. A bird strike would explain why the aircraft did not have power to lift, he said. If there were multiple hits on takeoff, probably could not have gone beyond the 6 to 7 minute threshold mark. So there's that.
BJP state president for Gujarat and Union Jal Shakti Minister C.R. Patil is also on his way to Gujarat. He has even also been asked to rush to Gujarat. He's also not just a state president, but he's also the union minister. He's a son of the soil as well. He's also been asked to go there and aid in whatever.
Maybe it's time to make Indians that actually
the unfortunate news coming forth
can
that
ingest birds,
there could
because they
hardly
don't
be
seem
any
to be doing a
survivors
very
as
good
far
job
as
these days.
this crash is really concerned, and obviously that is something which everybody is waiting to see what has been the cause of this. Because I've been speaking to at least quite a few experts and quite a few union ministers, including former civil aviation ministers, Rahul, and they're very surprised because this is, of course, a modern state-of-the-art aircraft. What really led to this? So nothing is being ruled out as of now. And our colleague Manoj Gupta had just spoken to us a little earlier, and he basically also said that the sabotage angle is also being, looked into over here, with the fact that several national and international passengers were on board as well. And what an unfortunate, episode coming to the fore, not just for those people who are actually on the flight, but also for the building on which this aircraft fell, where the doctors were having their lunch break as well, and a complete, very very tragic afternoon to speak the least as well. But all hands on the deck approached by the Prime Minister, and therefore multiple ministers are being rushed to the accident site.
Well, PIB of India has put out a fact check saying that an old video is being shared on social media linking it to the Ahmedabad plane crash. It shows a view from inside the plane. The video is of a plane crash that happened in Nepal in January 2023. And the PIB says rely only on information from official sources or in mainstream media. For authentic information related to the Ahmedabad crash, contact the helpline number provided by the central government. And that number, of course, is on your screens, even as we speak, viewers. So don't, again, get sucked into conspiracy theories. There are many people who are going to talk about a lot of things that might not quite fit the facts once we know them. But as of now, we can tell you that Boeing has issued a statement. So we're in contact with Air India regarding Flight 171 and stand ready to support them. Our thoughts are with the passengers, crew, first responders, and all affected. So this is a statement that has been put out by Boeing. There is, of course, a past history where Boeing has been under scrutiny, but has that resulted in this particular incident? One can't say. It's too premature. But what we can tell you, viewers, is that the number of casualties are being estimated to be very high. There is a possibility of very few survivors. That's also what we are being told. Unofficially, of course, we don't have any confirmation of the status of the passengers. But what we can tell you is that there were 12 crew, including 2 very experienced pilots. Indians, passengers were 169, British 53, and passengers from other nationalities, 7. You can see on your screens a Portuguese and 1 Canadian. So that made up the entire 242 passenger list, including, of course, the crew. And what we are being told, viewers, is that not many might survive this devastating tragedy. I want to go across to Anvit. Anvit, what's the latest on the casualty figures?
I saw that picture. I don't think the rat
also,
was
of course,
deployed.
from the ground,
If you have the
we know
picture,
that there were about
you can
50 to 60
email it to
MBBS
me at
students that are admitted in
aviationmaximus@gmail.
hospital. It is
But I
being
don't
said
think the
that they're
rat was
stable.
deployed.
This is the Federation of All India Medical Association that is putting out these details as per discussions with the president of the RDA BG Medical College Ahmedabad and Vice President FAIMA, Dr. Dhaval Gameti. These numbers are being put out. 4 to 5 MBBS students are missing. Hope they're okay. 2-3 are in HDU and ICU, so their situation is quite precarious. 3-4 relatives of the super specialist resident doctors are missing right now, and wife of 1 found dead, and most of the passengers of the flight are brought dead. We appeal to everyone to remain calm. So this is the first intimation that we have got from any official source about the possibility of casualty figures. Anvit.
Yeah, Rahul, see, the situation on ground is such that some people certainly are missing because the crash, the plane went into a residential area and the buildings have been damaged. The people from ground, many of them are being reported missing. Some are yet to be traced. it is not confirmed whether they are dead or they have been taken to some hospital and they remain unidentified. So these are the problems and the challenges that the first responders and the paramedics and medical experts are facing on ground right now. That is one challenge. Another is that the plane had tons of fuel as it has just taken off and it was bound to go to Gatwick. So it had a huge amount of fuel. Usually, it is with the planes that their fuel is contained into the wings, and that is one reason why when planes crash, that it immediately goes up in flames. This is one reason, and this is exactly what we saw that happened with this flight as well. The moment it touched down, the moment it touched the residential area where it crashed, the plane went up in flames. And that is one reason why mostly in air crashes, the number of survivors is the least. And even in this incident, hardly there would be any survivors is what we are learning from the sources on ground, which is highly unfortunate. But this is the reality that there might, the chances of survival of anyone on board that aircraft might be very less. Also, there are casualties, collateral damage from the ground because it was the residential area. We saw how the plane's flight path declined instead of rising, and it had been taking off. And it was just minutes after taking off that the flight went down and crashed. So the visuals are clearly suggestive of the fact that they would the casualty figures that have already crossed 150 is what we're learning from the ground. That is expected to only rise. It is unfortunate, but yes, some people have also been rushed to medical facilities and they have been marked safe. This includes a number of hostelers and the doctors who were living in the hostel in the building in which the plane has crashed. So they have been marked safe with some injuries, and they've been said they're out of danger, which is a good news in this. But on-ground situation remains challenging as rescue operations are still continuing.
Well, that's not a very encouraging outlook that has been painted there by Anvit. What we can tell you, viewers, is that the FAIMA, the Federation of All India Medical Association, has put out the latest details, and Shivani, it doesn't make for very encouraging reading. 50 to 60 MBBS students are admitted, and thankfully some are stable. Most are stable. 4 to 5 MBBS students are missing, and 2-3 in HDU and ICU. But the prognosis on the passengers of the flight is not very good. Shivani.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us in what is now the second biggest air tragedy in India. An Air India flight with 232 passengers and 10 crew members crashed shortly after taking off from Ahmedabad airport. Now, the plane was carrying 169 Indians, 53 British nationals, 7 Portuguese and 1 Canadian passenger, and was bound for London. Already, 130 plus casualties have been confirmed. 130 plus passengers have been declared dead, even as rescue and relief operations are on. The tragedy and crash has been so severe that the worst is now feared as far as the casualties are concerned. The aircraft involved was a Boeing 787 Dreamliner 12 and is believed that the pilots lost both engines and plunged very quickly after takeoff. Before Ahmedabad, Boeing 787, known as the Dreamliner, entered service in October 2011 and had never been involved in a fatal incident. But there have been many concerns over safety and audit-related issues with Boeing, the company itself. Home Minister Amit Shah, Civil Aviation Minister K. Ram Mohan Naidu have travelled to Ahmedabad along with other ministry and DGCA officials. News also is that former Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani was on the flight travelling to London, where his family is currently, and we are awaiting confirmation on his condition. Let's take a look at exactly what happened. Air India Boeing flight AI-171 from Ahmedabad to Gatwick in London crashed immediately after takeoff from the Ahmedabad airport itself. As per ATC, the aircraft departed from Ahmedabad at 1:39 p.m. this afternoon from runway 23. So it was scheduled to leave this afternoon. It departed or took off at 1:39 p.m. There were 242 persons on board the aircraft, consisting of 2 pilots and 10 cabin crew, as I mentioned. The aircraft was under the command of Captain Sumit Sabharwal with First Officer Clive Kundar. Captain Sumit Sabharwal is a line training captain with 8,200 hours of experience. The co-pilot also had 1,100 hours of flying experience. Now, the captains, the crew gave a mayday call to the ATC shortly after its takeoff, but thereafter, no response was given by the aircraft to the calls made by the ATC. Now, the flight is said to have crashed within a minute after takeoff from runway 23. It had barely achieved a height of 600 odd feet. And the worst is that it actually lost control so badly that the pilots crashed right outside the airport perimeter. The Air India flight crashed at an under. What exactly happened mid-air? Initial data from flight Air India 171 shows that the aircraft reached a maximum barometric altitude of 625 feet only. Now, this is not a lot. This is just about 425 feet above the altitude of the runway itself, which is at 200 feet. Minutes after making that Mayday call, the Air India flight started to descend with a vertical speed of minus 475 feet per minute. So you can imagine that actually the flight went down so quickly that within a few seconds, it had crashed into those buildings, possibly giving no time to the pilots and others to even try to maneuver away from what seems to be a heavily, densely populated area. These are some of the videos that we have also been able to capture through various residents of that area. This is, of course, the moment the Air India Ahmedabad London flight crashed after takeoff. You can see that it immediately burst into flames, which is why we are fearing heavy casualties and possibly no survivors. Minutes after the flight crashed at this under construction building, visuals show parts of the flight up in flames. Footage also shows firefighters dousing those flames soon after the plane had crashed. And because the proximity of this crash site is so close to the city and the airport itself, the rescue and the fire services actually managed to get to the area, to the crash site fairly quickly, within minutes, is also what the police has confirmed. The visuals from the crash site show the debris of the flight AI-171 scattered across the area. This is one visual that is extremely damning as far as this crash is concerned. This is one portion of the crashed aircraft that has actually got stuck on top of the building, and other parts that have fallen on the ground, where of course there are lots of people that you can see as well. Dramatic visuals also show these parts crashing into these buildings at various areas. There is another mess hall where about 50 to 60 students that are studying, there are MBBS students that were studying in the nearby colleges, and there's a hostel where they used to live, and mess hall where they were eating lunch, when actually parts of the plane crashed into the windows of that mess as well. But thankfully, there have been no casualties there, at least the mess hall is concerned. Soon after the crash, rescue efforts were in place, of course. Injured were rushed to hospitals. These are some of the visuals that we've managed to access. Chief Minister of Gujarat has also visited the civil hospital where most of the injured are being taken. These are, of course, injured. We don't know whether these were passengers. It's unlikely that they were passengers, because the situation also is that there could
What happened?
be more casualties or injured from on ground, from the buildings and across the airport perimeter where this plane crashed and burst into flames. We're also getting more fresh visuals that are arriving of the moments after.
Has anybody seen Sky News lately? Are they still covering?
These are visuals of
Anybody
this
found a
densely
different source
populated
that's
area.
covering? Because I can't find any.
Buildings are also on fire. There is debris on the ground that has caught fire as well. So these are the buildings that have come into the path of this crashing aircraft. We are being told that MBBS students lived in these hostels.
Yeah, that carbon fiber is a strong plane. I mean, it really is. So,
Waiting to get more
unless
as
it
far
burns.
as their condition is concerned. But
That data
there is
recorder
also a
should be
mess hall,
fine. They took it out already.
where students had gone for eating during the lunch hour.
You can see the doors open and they already pulled it out.
But less severe brunt of this crashing aircraft. At least there we spoke to an eyewitness. The students are safe. But the eyewitnesses told us that there is another building where this craft had.
Yeah, I am too. Regardless of what kind of stall you call it, that it fell out of the sky, and
there could be
because it was perfectly capable of lift until the engine stopped.
Not just to eyewitnesses, but other relief agencies on ground as well.
All right, hang on. I'm going to try and go back to Sky. Nope. Let's see. Hang on. Live.
So maybe they were already trying to get the aircraft into a landing configuration to help with the landing. Again, it's all speculation now. We'll still have to find out what the final report is at the end of the investigation. But with the aircraft landing gear down, that would significantly increase the drag if the point was to try to take off at that point.
What is the worst case scenario for you when you are taking off? The things that you're checking, what is the thing that will go wrong first that would really cause the greatest fear?
I think a number of factors, but a few things come to mind. Definitely the engines, because during takeoff, you're trying to overcome gravity, you're trying to overcome drag, and your engines are really the thrust that helps you overcome, is that counter force that helps you overcome these other forces. So the really critical things there will be the engine, the health of the engines, making sure the engines are running properly and as they're supposed to. Also make sure that like someone else mentioned, the ailerons are in the right takeoff configuration, make sure the aircraft is actually configured correctly for takeoff. Also make sure that you have the required takeoff clearance to make sure that there are no other aircrafts on the runway or in your takeoff path.
Yeah, and of course we saw this recently at a collision in American airspace, didn't we? When a plane collided with a helicopter, I think it was actually, shortly after takeoff. And that, that's very, very unusual these days, isn't it? We've talked about birds, a bird strike being a possibility. Is that something that could have brought down a plane of this size, given that it's a twin-engine aircraft?
I didn't see any birds.
Again, that's difficult to say, but we have seen incidents where bird strikes have caused major incidents or accidents. I mean, a popular example is the case of the Hudson River landing. But yes, a bird strike is a factor, but we're not certain that was what happened in this case. Yeah.
And you mentioned the fact that the pilots had given a mayday signal. So it did suggest that they had a few moments at least. What do you read into that?
It tells me that first of all, it tells me that in terms of crew CRM, they were working in a multi-crew environment. The two crew members.
It's pretty obvious. They could have had it configured wrong for weight, for temperature, for fuel, for takeoff speed, for V1.
And also to air traffic control.
It could be pilot error. It doesn't have to be Boeing or birds. Because if it were birds, we would have seen either the birds or the flaming entrails out of the back end of the engine. So, a lot of speculation.
Yeah, I mean, we do hear that flying is the safest form of transport. Our science and technology correspondent Thomas Moore was saying that just a short while ago. When these incidents happen, does it give you pause for thought? Does it make you feel less comfortable about taking a helicopter up in the air?
Honestly, no, it doesn't. And the reason why, and again, cases like this are very sad and very
I didn't see that rat. I saw a lot of pictures of the plane, and the rat is not out. In my opinion, it may be.
Incidents or aircraft accidents compared to the number of incidents and accidents that you have for maybe other means of transportation. So it's very sad when things like this happen. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to the numbers and the amount of improvements that we've seen in technology, in avionics and aeronautics developments, things have definitely gotten safer, and it's still the safest means of transportation.
Seyoune Komolafe, very good to talk to you today. Thank you very much for giving us your expertise this morning.
Thank you for having me.
We've been showing you some of the footage of the aftermath of this plane crash. Let's just bring you footage of the plane actually going down. And I should warn you that the footage we are about to play does show the plane descending behind some buildings, which you may well find distressing. Well, joining me now is Sarah Stewart, who's an aviation lawyer and partner at the London law firm Stewart's. Sarah, very good to talk to you today. This is such a desperately sad state of affairs, isn't it? Where would you be coming at this from? Would you be looking at it in terms of representing those who had lost their lives and their families on this plane, or in terms of representations of the airline industry?
Good afternoon, Jane, and thank you for inviting me this afternoon. What shocking and sad news for all of the families concerned. We act for bereaved families and survivors of aircraft incidents and accidents around the world, ultimately in their quest for answers, but also for claims for compensation. But we have to remember that some of the families concerned won't even know that their loved one was on board flight 171.
Okay, this is one picture sent by Jay. Thank you very much for sending this. I don't see the rat on that one. See this one? Boy, that nose up. It's like they're fighting to pull that thing up with no engine power, and that is a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for a stall. None of this makes any sense. Where's the other screen?
Get started, but will be on hold whilst the official accident investigation runs its course. The official accident investigation is both technical, it's very, very long. It can be at least 2 years. It can be a lot longer in our expertise and our experience.
Sky News, is this in
Looking
Australia?
at all the technical factors, looking at the operational factors, looking at the weather related factors, and ultimately that.
Let me go back.
कुछ भी दिखाई नहीं दे रहा था सिवाय
Let me find somebody here. Let's see. India Today.
हॉस्टल में रहते थे, उनकी मृत्यु हो गई है,
अस्पताल ले जाया जाएगा।
मलिक जी, आपको मेरी अगर आवाज आ रही है, मैं एक बार कंफर्म करना चाहती हूँ आपसे कि ये जो एमबीबीएस की तैयारी कर रहे थे बच्चे, उसमें से 22 से 30 बच्चे
More exciting than the other one.
है वहां पे उस हॉस्टल में।
It's a British, okay.
आपको एक बार क्वेश्चन जो है
It was boring me.
क्योंकि एम्बुलेंस की आवाज इतनी आ रही है।
I don't understand this, but it's more exciting.
फिलहाल एक दृश्य जो है वो आपको दिखाना चाहूंगा कि जो अभी भी फिलहाल कई सारे स्वयंसेवक है, कई सारे एम्बुलेंस जो है वो यहाँ।
Hey, anybody in India, what's the deal with filling the entire screen with pictures except what people want to see? What is that deal?
फिलहाल कोई भी अंदर आ ना जा सके, इसीलिए बीएसएफ का जो पॉइंट है वो बीएसएफ भी यहाँ अंदर जुटा हुआ है। लाइट जो है वो लाइट बिल्कुल ऑफ कर दिया है। टॉरेंट पावर की टीम जो है वो टॉरेंट पावर की टीम जो है यहाँ लगातार तैनात है। साथ ही साथ कई सारे स्वयंसेवक है वो भी जुटे हुए हैं। फिलहाल अभी एएमसी के जनरेटर मंगाए गए हैं क्योंकि जो आसपास में जो बड़े घने वृक्ष से उनको काटने के लिए कहीं जो जनरेटर की व्यवस्था जो है वो एएमसी की ओर से की जाए। ऐसी कई सारी मात्रा में एम्बुलेंस जो है एक दो डेड बॉडी निकालने के लिए आती जाती रहती है। अभी फिलहाल 50 से भी ज्यादा डेड बॉडियां ऑलरेडी निकाल चुके हैं और उनको चुका है। फिलहाल ये मामला लगभग 1:30 बजे से जब शुरू हुआ है और अभी 6 बजने की वारदात है। 6 बजे के बाद 6 बजे बाद भी यहाँ से कोई बाहर निकलता है, एक दो डेड बॉडी
Well,
वो बाहर निकलती नजर
I
आ
don't think
रही
we're going to get
है,
any new news for a while from this. I think either on purpose or just because it's not coming out, there's not a lot of information coming out on this. It was just a whim to get on here, and I'm so glad that a lot of you guys joined me. Yeah, I'm looking forward to where are all these videos that should be on. You know what? The woman is giving me a headache. Good God. Where is me? There is me. Okay. Normally there are angles from all over the place. There are cell phones. There are all kind of cameras, and I imagine those will come out tomorrow. Or tomorrow is today. It's today here in California, and we'll get more on that. And I'm sure pilots and smarter guys than I will have updates and theories and things as to that. But I just wanted to take this chance to, get this out live in case you guys didn't know. I don't know how many of you didn't know what was going on before you saw me go live. I always thank you for joining me and sticking with me, especially as I try and navigate my way through this whole YouTube algorithm thing. It's really got me down, but it's not just me. Apparently, I talked to ChatGPT and I said, why is YouTube screwing me? And chat said, oh, it's not just you. He said they're screwing everybody. So I felt better about that. So I think I still have enough time to get this video out today on the Airbus A220 big sale. Ooh, big exciting stuff. But I think most of today's news coverage is going to be about this crash. So I'm going to be signing off. I hope you guys all find something else to watch, something better. Local news wise. It's so sad. Here in America, you used to have stations that would have national news coverage. And so far, there's nothing. A war, a plane crash, nothing can get them to stop from talking about the usual nonsense we talk about here on a daily basis. And I'm tired of it. And so it's always a pleasure to speak with all of you. It really makes me happy to know that people all over the world know who little old Maximus is and take the time to tune in and watch my little show. And so everybody stay well, be safe, hug somebody you love. And man, I sure hope it's not the plane because I love that 787. Okay, everybody, be safe.